So welcome back to our final video of Chapter 3. We're going to look at preparing the trial balance. So once we've got all of the journal entries journalized and posted to the ledger accounts, to the T accounts, remember the ledger is, think of it as a book of T accounts. Most times today, it's really a database of all the T accounts because we're keeping all of this computerized, but sometimes it's easier to think of it in a kind of simple paper format. So the trial balance is not a real financial statement. It's what I call a pseudo statement or a schedule. Anytime we see the word schedule, remember we want to think internal only statement. And it's really just a list of all of our ledger accounts, all of our T accounts, and what their balances are at this point in time. So really, it's just a check to make sure that debits equal credits. If debits don't equal credits, we know that we've made a mistake somewhere and we have to go back and fix it before we get too far, because let me tell you, if we don't fix it, that balance sheet is never going to balance. So we got to go back and fix it. Now, it's really, really easy to make mistakes here. It's easy to double post an entry, especially if we get out of the habit of using those posting references. And so we double post an entry, or we accidentally post an entry to the wrong account. Again, we may post it to the wrong side. So maybe it was a debit to cash, but we accidentally put it on the credit side, or vice versa. We can very easily transpose some numbers. So maybe it was $325 and we put $235. It's super easy to switch those numbers around. It's super easy to add or accidentally subtract zeros. So maybe the entry was for $1,200, but we put 120, or we put 12,000. So all of those are little simple mistakes that we can very easily make. And the trial balance, while it won't catch every single mistake, and we'll talk about which ones that it kind of doesn't catch a lot of times, it will help us catch a lot of our mistakes. So the trial balance, again, is literally just a list of the accounts. Usually we list those in the account number order, so the same number that they appear in that chart of accounts. And we're simply going to put the balance of whether it was on the debit side or the credit side. And then we just add them up. And we're double checking to make sure that debits equal credits. Now notice we start off with the same 3-line headings. We have the company name, we have the name of the statement, which is trial balance, and then we have the date. And like the balance sheet, the date of the trial balance is just for 1 day and 1 day only. And then we'll also double underline at the end. So you've got all of your list of T accounts here. If you go in and practice this trial balance, you should list them all out, add them up, and make sure that your balances come out to $21,350. Now, what happens if the trial balance doesn't balance? Well, first of all, let me say this. The trial balance can balance and not be 100% correct. Maybe we double posted an entire entry. The trial balance would still balance. Maybe we forgot to post an entire entry. The trial balance would still balance. But again, the trial balance is going to help us catch a lot of mistakes. So if the difference, if the amount that we're off is equal to a 10, 100, 1,000, etc., in other words, it's a difference of 10, then probably we just added something wrong, okay? If the difference is equal to a certain account balance, then make sure that we got all of the accounts on the trial balance, right? It's easy to have accidentally skipped over one, especially if it's one that maybe we don't use a whole lot, we might have skipped over it. If the difference is divisible by 2, or rather, if we can divide the difference by 2 and then check to see whether we maybe messed up a debit or a credit, right? If the difference is divisible by 9, then this is commonly tells us that either we made a slide or transposition error, which means we accidentally added or subtracted a 0, okay? And then we need to make sure that we copied it from the trial balance, from the T accounts to the trial balance correctly, because again, we may have made a mistake right there in the copying. If we still can't find the mistake, then we need to go back to our T accounts, re-add up all of our balances, make sure that we trace correctly all of our postings from the journal to the ledger, and double check all of that to make sure that we get it absolutely correct before we move on.